Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to my review of the Laco Scorpion. Now if I say the word Laco to you and we play a little word association game, you're probably going to come up with two words in response. German being the first one and Flieger being the second one, and you'd be right in both cases. Laco are one of the 5 companies that manufactured Flieger pilot-style watches for the German Luftwaffe in World War II, and indeed they have a fantastic current range inspired by the watches that they made back in the 1930s and 40s. I reviewed the Aachen at the beginning of this year and I highly rated it. If you wanted an authentic German Flieger but you were on a bit of a budget, that I reckon was the one to go for. This, on the other hand, Scorpion, is none of the above. It's a clean and modern dive watch. How many German dive watches can you find for less than $1,000 US? I can't honestly think of all that many. However, this Scorpion has got a bit of a sting in its tail. Let's flip the camera and find out what it is. So then, a Scorpion that does indeed sting in an area that you probably don't want it to. What's my problem with this one then? Well, I'll tell you a bit later on, because if I told you now, you wouldn't watch the rest of the video, would you? Let's start with a brief look at the Laco website. Now Laco, as I said in the intro, a company normally more associated with Fliegers. Indeed, they do a fantastic range of Fliegers. I'll obviously leave a link to this one in the description of the video if you're keen to check them out. What I'm looking at today though is one of their sports range of watches. They call this the Laco Scorpion. It's available in 4 different colorways. There's the Amazonas, which is the green one that I've got, Mojave with lots of orange, Himalaya with not quite as much orange, and Atlantic with blue. So 4 different colorways of the same watch in essence. All 3 of them are available on a bracelet or a choice of rubber straps. There's a standard 2-piece rubber strap or a 1-piece rubber NATO. I've got this one here in the box today on the bracelet, and I've also got it on the rubber NATO, so I'll show you on both of those. Laco not shy about talking about their heritage. 1925, a long and proud history of making watches in Germany, and indeed this one has made in Germany on the dial. So a brief introduction to the Scorpion range there. Instructions, which I have no intention of reading, a hang tag, once again emphasising the history and the made in Germany, and a 2-year warranty with this one. All very nice indeed. Packaging I would describe as reasonable for a watch costing close to $900 US. These ones are 980 euros on the bracelet. If you live outside of the Eurozone, you get the VAT back off that. If you're within the Eurozone, you're paying nearly 1,000 euros for this on the bracelet. Not much less, to be honest, if you opt for one of the rubber straps, but it is a looker, I reckon. So 42mm in diameter. Laco claim a thickness of 10.7 on their website. It is not 10.7. I measure it closer to 13.5. So perhaps Laco would like to remeasure this one. Not very German, getting a fundamental detail like that wrong. Maybe they were excluding the double dome sapphire and the protruding case back. I'm not really sure. They did get the lug tip to lug tip right of 50mm. 20mm lug width. Now the bracelet does taper down a little bit to 17.8, back up to just under 20 at the clasp, and this one sized up for me, 7-inch wrist on the supply bracelet, weighs in at a not inconsiderable 175 grams. So there's definitely a little bit of chunk to this one, most of it coming from the head of the watch. I must say that the head of the watch is very nicely done. So 316L stainless steel case, crown, bezel and full 316 stainless steel bracelet. You've got a lovely case back, I'll show you that in a minute or two. Solid end links. Now this is a pin and collar system. I was a bit surprised not to find screw links on a watch costing nearly $1,000, but it is a pin and collar system. We do have a fold over clasp here with security pushers. It's a milled clasp. There are 3 levels of micro adjust and a diver's extension. So hallelujah, it's a diver's watch that you can actually dive with, but more on that bracelet later. The all brushed finish, very much matching the modern, purposeful, tooly nature of this watch. We've got a signed crown with just the Laco L there, plenty of grip. It is guarded, but you can still get a good grip on that one. Quite an angular shape to those crown guards as well. Similarly, brush continues on the lugs. We've got brushing on the bracelet, brushing on that bezel. Very nice bezel there. Nice machining on the edge, kind of turret edge bezel. And it's a ceramic bezel insert to boot with a surprising amount of lume on it. I'll put the lume shot up early today. All Luminova, but a mixture of C3, white and green. Obviously the lume will vary depending on whether you go for the Atlantic with the blue, the Himalaya with the orange, and so on. On this Amazonas, you're treated to a bit of C3 and a bit of green. No complaints about the lume at all. The hands are a good size, there's plenty on the indices, and it lasts a good duration of time as well. And the bezel action is another highlight of this watch, I must say. 60 click unidirectional. You don't see an awful lot of 60 click bezels, but this one is rock solid. Very satisfying, makes a great snicking noise when you engage it. No back plate, no bounce, it looks good and it feels good, this bezel. The dial is covered by a piece of double dome sapphire crystal with plenty of anti-reflective undercoating, and it all integrates very nicely indeed. It's a nice continuous dome from the bezel, the insert and the piece of crystal on top. Zoomed right in on the dial, and for a company that often does heritage models, I think they've done this modern one very nicely indeed. Just the Laco logo there printed on, really that's the only trace of the company's history here. Everything else is clean and modern and bold and colourful. Obviously the green bezel insert, we've got a big double green baton at 12, single baton in 6 also at green, kind of paler off-coloured batons matching that hour hand. Everything else just crisply printed on in stark white against that matte black dial. It's simple, it's not particularly elaborate or ornate, but I think it works altogether. And they've kept the printing to a minimum as well. Just automatic 30 atmospheres and made in Germany either side of the index at 6. The hands are, I think, a great size for the dial. Just simple fence posts, slightly off colour as noted in the lume video. You've got that bright green minute hand, the slightly off coloured hour hand, and a bright white second hand with lollipop, also in bright green, spinning away, touching a printed white minute track. So there's Arabics out there on that minute track at the 05, the 10, the 20, the 25, the 35, etc. And you've obviously got those big bold Arabics at 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 and 11. The fact that they deleted the Arabics at 3 and 9 though means they can integrate the date window much better, I feel. It's pretty simple, it's just a cutout there, but they have at least colour matched the date wheel. I think it looks pretty good overall. Modern, legible and functional. How very German. And what do you think of that case back? Definitely one of the coolest case back designs that I have come across this year. The Scorpion, which is the master name of the model series there, but it encroaches on that outer rim. So it's recessed, embossed, but there we are, one of its legs and one of its claws encroaching onto the outer rim there. Usual spec sheet, all stainless steel, sapphire crystal, made in Germany. 30 atmospheres, so screw down crown, screw down case back, giving this one 300 meters of water resistant. Contained within there is an ETA 2824 Elaborate grade. You can upgrade to the top grade for about 130 euros more, but the Elaborate should be fine for most users. And there it is, taking away quite the thing on the old Weishi 1000, plus 3 seconds per day, healthy amplitude, beat error of 0.2, but I'm not all that concerned with that. 25 joules, hacking and hand winding, Swiss made automatic, 28,800 vibrations per hour, so it is a 4 Hz high beat automatic, as they say. You get that nice smooth sweep of the second hand that once you get used to, it's quite difficult to deviate from. As I said, you can pay a little bit extra for the top grade ETA 2824, but this one seems to be doing the job just fine. And that's it, sitting on top of my 7-inch wrist. I think 42mm, a good size for this type of watch. Kind of clean, slightly large, modern diver. Very legible. I do like those flashes of green. I've got a bit of a thing for green on dive watches. Not everyone will agree with me. I'm okay with that. but I think it looks really good. That matte black dial, there's enough colour there, but I don't think they've overdone it at all. Super, super legible. 175 grams is a fair chunk of weight, but it carries that quite well. Most of the weight from the head of the watch, not a lot of protrusion from the case back, meaning it sits on me nicely. A little bit of curvature to the lugs. 50mm lug tip, 2 lug tips, normally kind of my upper maximum, but it doesn't feel like a big watch when you wear it. It feels great. And that's it, a little higher up for perspective, losing none of its legibility. It really is such a clean looking dial, I think. The matte ceramic bezel insert, the matte dial, white indices, and the slightly off-coloured hands all go together very nicely. Same applies when you take it outside. There's enough anti-reflective coating on that double dome sapphire crystal that the watch still maintains its legibility even in strong sunlight. And when you get it outside in amongst some natural foliage, there it is, all those green tones complementing the green grass of Sydney very nicely indeed. On wrist, as I said, it is a fairly substantial watch, but there's enough curvature there that it fits me quite nicely. This all sounds pretty good, Jody. Prestigious brand, made in Germany, rock solid Swiss automatic, very nicely machined and manufactured case, a real feeling of heft and solidity about the watch itself, robust bezel action, nicely integrated double dome sapphire crystal, super legible, modern dial design. What's your problem? Well, my problem, I'm afraid, is with the bracelet. I don't think this bracelet belongs on a $900 watch. I think it'd be pushing it to put this one on a $500 watch. I think the bean counters were in effect the day that they chose the bracelet. There's a little bit of a gap, a little bit of a rattle here, suggesting it's not particularly well fitted to the end links. Pin and collar system, I would be really expecting a screw link system for my $900, and that clasp is the bottom rung. That is a really, really basic clasp. Unfortunately, also only 3 micro adjust holes. Look at the size of those links. So that's maybe what, 8mm, 9mm between holes. There's barely 3.5mm there. I have difficulty getting a comfortable fit on this one. If I add another link, it becomes too loose. As it stands, I'm left looking at the end of that fairly cheap diver's extension. It's not a particularly confidence-inspiring diver's extension either. The finishing on the bracelet itself is alright, nice and consistent, but that bottom edge is a little bit sharper than I would like it to be. It certainly doesn't feel all that luxurious. The bracelet is a bit of a letdown. Now, I don't actually have any other $900 German-made dive watches in the house at the moment, unsurprisingly, because I'm not sure if there actually are any. But let's be honest, I'm not short of watches, so allow me to use the Formex Essence, my modded SKX, and my L'Oreal to illustrate the point. This is the bracelet on the Formex, which also costs $900, and it's night and day. It is a beautifully engineered and manufactured bracelet. Look at those chamfered edges there. Formex engraved on the clasp. Admittedly, it's a butterfly, so it's a little bit different. It's not a dive watch, but we do have some on-the-fly adjustment there. Gorgeous, gorgeous looking. It's got quick release spring bars. The end links are perfectly fitted, rock solid. This is the $70 Strapco Jubilee strap that I fitted to my fully modded Seiko SKX. It has screw links rather than a pin and collar system, very nice solid end links, and a great clasp with chamfered edges, 6 micro adjusts, a fold over, double button security pushers, and it feels great. And this is a clasp that I got on AliExpress for the princely sum of $8 as an upgrade for the press clasp on my L'Oreal. Do you see the similarities? The one on the Laco is just about the bottom end of the milled clasp range. It has the Laco L engraved there, and it's slightly longer to conceal the diver's extension, but it's just as basic. It's got those 3 little micro holes, and they're even closer together, meaning it's actually less useful than the one I got from AliExpress for $8. No problem. What about the 2 rubber strap options that you mentioned earlier on? Well, yes, look at this one. A kind of bright neon green, very much matching the colour highlights of the watch, but it doesn't save that much money if you do opt for one of the rubber straps. It only takes the price down to about $860 if you live outside the Eurozone, or €930 if you live within it. It is really nicely made. That little L-shaped retainer means that any overhang sits very closely to the watch, and it's Laco branded, but it's just not cheap enough, I'm afraid. So a clean, modern, handsome, legible design from a company with a bag of history behind it, not normally associated with clean, modern, handsome and legible designs. This Scorpion could have been a killer, but that cheap bracelet means that it's just a bit of a pain in the... And there you have it, the Laco Scorpion. I think a good watch, they did most of what they set out to do. They designed a clean, modern, original German dive watch that doesn't look like anything else that I've seen, certainly very much sits at one side of their range of authentic traditional styled Flieger watches, but they went cheap on that bracelet. Now, I admit I'm a bracelet guy. I'm probably inclined to be extra critical, extra harsh on a bracelet that doesn't meet my exacting standards, and this one, I'm afraid, falls considerably short of those exacting standards. It would be alright on a $450, maybe on a $500 watch, but on a $900 watch, it isn't good enough. The fact that they sell this one as a standalone item for about €90 suggests that maybe they didn't put enough of the development money of the overall budget of the watch into the bracelet, and I think that's a shame. But it's an easy fix. So come on, Laco, come up with a Scorpion 2 and put some more of your R&D into that bracelet. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.